Let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to Finance Deep Dive. Today, we're stepping right into the ring for a heavyweight bout that's been decades in the making. That's right. In one corner, you've got the reigning champ, the US dollar, and in the other corner, the challenger, the euro. So who's really on top? Let's break it down. To really get this fight, you gotta understand their origin stories. They couldn't be more different. One was basically an accident of history, and the other, a completely grand design. So the dollar, it kind of became the champ by default. After World War II, the US economy was just a giant. The Bretton Woods Agreement basically just made it official. And even after the gold standard ended in '71, its dominance just stuck. The euro, on the other hand, was the total opposite. It was meticulously engineered. This was a political dream, specifically designed to take on the dollar. It was rolled out super carefully, first as this invisible electronic thing, and then bam, physical cash in everyone's pockets. Okay, so enough with the history lesson, right? Let's get to the real tale of the tape. We're going to look at the hard numbers and see who's actually landing the punches in the global economy today. All right, first up, reserves. This is huge. We're talking about what central banks around the world are holding onto for a rainy day. And look at that, almost 58% of it is in US dollars. The euro? It's in second place, but it's a pretty distant second. Now let's talk daily trading. And here, wow, it's not even close. The dollar is a part of a mind-boggling 88% of all foreign exchange trades. It's basically the universal language of the market. And if you thought that was something, here's the real kicker. Over half, 54%, of all global exports are invoiced in US dollars. Think about that. From oil tankers to iPhones, the price tag is almost always in greenbacks. And all of this leads to its most critical role, the undisputed safe haven. Whenever there's a global crisis, when markets get shaky, where does all the money go? It floods into the US dollar. It's like the world's financial fire escape. So, let's look at the scorecard. Across pretty much every key metric, reserves, trade, transactions, the dollar has a commanding lead. No question about it, the champ is still firmly on top. Hey, just a quick pause. If you're finding this interesting and you're liking the content, do us a huge favor and hit that subscribe button. It really does motivate us to keep these deep dives coming. Okay, so behind every great fighter, there's a cornerman, right? The one calling the shots. For currencies, that's a central bank. And trust me, these two have very different playbooks. So in the dollar's corner, you have the US Federal Reserve, or the Fed. Their game plan is what's called a dual mandate. They're trying to do two things at once: keep prices stable and get as many people employed as possible. This gives them a lot of flexibility. Now, the European Central Bank, the ECB, they have tunnel vision. It's a singular mandate. They have one job and one job only: maintain price stability. That's it. Everything else is secondary. So you can see the huge difference in strategy, right? The Fed is this flexible manager for one single massive economy. The ECB, though, it has to be a strict single-minded referee for 20 different economies. That is a much, much trickier balancing act. But here's the thing, no champion is invincible. Every single titan has a potential weakness, a glass jaw. So now, let's go looking for their vulnerabilities. And for the dollar, its biggest strength is also its greatest weakness. This exorbitant privilege of being the world's currency makes it super strong. But a strong dollar makes American-made stuff really expensive for other countries to buy. It's almost like a massive tax on its own producers. The euro's weakness? Well, it's baked right into its DNA. You have one single monetary policy, one interest rate, for 20 completely different economies, but you don't have one single government that can manage taxes or spending to help out. It's like having one gas pedal for 20 different cars. And this foundational flaw was laid bare during the Eurozone debt crisis. It created what some people called a diabolical loop. You had failing banks dragging down governments and struggling governments dragging down their banks. It was a vicious cycle that really undermined confidence in the euro. Okay, we've seen the strengths, we've seen the weaknesses, we've looked at the playbooks. So after all these rounds, what's the final verdict? Where is this all heading? Well, the verdict from the judges is pretty clear. There is no knockout punch coming. The idea that the US dollar is just going to get suddenly dethroned, that seems to be far, far off the cards. It is just too deeply entrenched in the global system. So instead of waiting for a new champion to take the throne, what we're actually seeing is a shift to a multipolar world. It's less about a single king and more like a council of powerful currencies. The dollar's influence will probably shrink over time, but it's not going to disappear. And that leaves us with a really interesting final thought. In a world with multiple powerful currencies, who truly holds the advantage? Something to think about. And hey, if you like this explainer, please don't forget to subscribe. It really does motivate us to keep posting.